This is a Mayluna Media production.
Hey, and welcome to Synaptic Soul, the podcast where science meets spirit, and we get real about the beautiful and brutal and magical mess of being human. I'm your host, Ava Marie Anderson, writer, mystic, multi-dimensional mischief maker. Quick disclaimer, you may hear the occasional snort, sigh, dramatic flop from my two French bulldogs, Rocky and Rambo. They're the soundtracks of my life, my soul companions, and honestly, the real stars of the show. Someday we'll dedicate a full episode to their role in my daily rituals, emotional healing, and wild spiritual life. But for now, just know that they're always close by, snoring their support. Let's dive in. Let's start with the obvious. If you don't have a vision, what the fuck are you manifesting? This is like pulling up DoorDash and typing the word food into the search bar. Like, sure, you're gonna get something delivered, but it's probably gonna be soggy fries when what you really wanted was a spicy tuna roll with extra wasabi. Like, the universe is infinite, but it's not our mind reader. Holding a vision isn't optional in manifestation. It is the GPS coordinates for where you want your energy and your nervous system and your quantum field to go. And here's where science and spirit do their little brain tango. So neuroscience tells us that the brain doesn't really know the difference between imagining something vividly and experiencing it in real time. So when you hold a clear, consistent vision, your neurons fire as though you're already living it, and athletes use this all the time. Michael Phelps literally rehearsed every winning race in his head before he ever dove into the pool. His brain wasn't like cute fantasy, bro. It was like, noted. Now let's get the body on board with this outcome. And visualization literally strengthens the neural pathways that make execution easier. So your nervous system begins to feel safe with the possibility, and when safety is in play, your body relaxes enough to let the energy flow. And now sprinkle in some quantum physics, which, specifically the observer effect. This principle says that particles exist in an infinite wave of possibility until observed. So the moment they're measured or held in awareness, they collapse into form. And think about that. The act of holding intention changes the physical world. When you hold your vision, you are essentially choosing which potential reality that you're aligning with. You're collapsing possibility into probability, and that is manifestation, dude, stripped of the fluff. But here's the kicker. Holding the vision doesn't just make you feel good. It sends your entire system marching toward it. Your reticular activating system, aka the brain's bouncer, it kicks in. And then suddenly you notice the synchronicities and the opportunities and the doors opening that you would have missed before. And you weren't blind before. You were just tuned to a different channel. So when you hold a vision, you turn the dial. And spiritually, this is the part the mystics have been screaming about for centuries. Every tradition has some version of this. The Hermetic principles talk about all is mind, meaning everything exists first as thought and then matter. And the yogis tell us that visualization awakens the subtle body, preparing the field for manifestation. And even ancient shamans would use guided visioning to direct healing or bring rain. Like, vision is the seed, and no seed, no sprout. But then here's the sass. The people who roll their eyes at vision boards are usually the same ones asking the universe for some vague shit like abundance while scrolling Zillow listings at 2 a.m. Like, vision boards aren't the glue sticks and the Pinterest aesthetic. They're about training your nervous system to recognize and resonate with your future. It's cognitive rehearsal disguised as arts and crafts. And now I hear the skeptic, so you're saying I just imagine a Ferrari and one shows up in my driveway? No, darling. The Ferrari isn't the point. The point is aligning your energy with the version of you who could even hold the fucking keys of the Ferrari without panicking about the insurance bill. Like, vision trains your system. It's the vibrational rehearsal that makes the receiving possible. But here's where the paradox starts to simmer. We are only halfway into the recipe, by the way. Holding the vision is crucial. It creates the mental and energetic map, but if you cling to that vision like a toddler with a sticky fistful of Cheerios, you're gonna choke the flow. Vision is the structure, it's the blueprint, but structure alone doesn't build a house, the workers do. And in manifestation, the workers are the universe, those unseen forces and the currents of synchronicity moving through time and space. Like, holding the vision is your job. Building the how is not. And that's where most people trip over their own spiritual shoelaces. They either skip the vision entirely and float around in vagueness, or they nail the vision so hard to the wall that it can't breathe. And both are dead ends. So yes, we hold the vision because science shows us that the brain and the body need it, and because quantum physics shows us that observation matters, because spirituality shows us that thought precedes form. Holding the vision is like holding the flame of a candle. You light the path with it, but the second you start trying to control the wind, you're in trouble. And this is where we tease ourselves up for the juicy mess of segment 2, which is when holding becomes strangling, and why the universe doesn't respond to your inner control freak with open arms. All right, bestie, let's talk about when holding the vision goes from sexy and magnetic to straight up suffocating. Because here's the truth. There is a fine line between clarity and obsession, between anchoring and strangling. And a lot of us, especially my fellow recovering control freaks, we don't just toe the line, we cartwheel across it in stilettos. But here's the deal. When you're gripping so hard onto your vision that your knuckles are metaphorically, or hell, even maybe literally white, you are not manifesting. You're broadcasting lack. Like, you're screaming into the cosmos, it's not here, it's not here. And guess what? The universe is like a cosmic Amazon. It just updates your order status to still pending. But let's break this down with some science first, because this isn't just woo-woo fluff. Your nervous system has only 2 gears: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, which is rest and receive. So when you're obsessing over your manifestation and checking your account balance 12 times a day, or refreshing your Bumble feed like a lab rat on like some sort of dopamine trip, you are in sympathetic mode. Your cortisol is spiking, your adrenaline is coursing, and your whole body is basically screaming scarcity. And energy amplifies what you are, not what you wish. And this is why some people's manifestation work looks like anxiety and drag. Like, they're doing the vision boards and the affirmations and the moon rituals, but underneath it all, their system is dysregulated. They're trying to call in love while vibrating at where the fuck is he? And they're trying to call in money while vibrating as I don't have enough. And that mismatch, that universe reads it instantly. It's like trying to tune into Beyonce on a radio station that's blasting static. And from a quantum perspective, this is the observer effect shadow side. When you hold a vision with calm confidence, you collapse probability into form. When you hold it with desperation, you collapse not having into repeated reality. The field responds to observation, yes, but it's not just what you observe, it is how you observe it. And when you're clinging like a toddler to a stuffed animal, the energy is off. And here's the sass. Obsessing over your manifestation is basically like texting the universe, "What are you doing?" 37 times a day. You wouldn't date somebody who did that, right? Like, imagine you go on a date with a cute human and the next morning you're like, "Good morning, how's your coffee? Do you miss me? Do you think about me? Did you manifest me yet?" Like, you would block them faster than Mercury retrograde ruins an email chain. Like, this is what we do energetically when we strangle our visions. We turn into the clingy psycho ex that source has to ghost. And listen, I get it. The impulse comes from fear, and most of us were conditioned in environments where safety wasn't guaranteed and where outcomes were unstable. Like, control becomes a trauma response. If I can micromanage every variable, maybe I won't get hurt, and maybe I'll finally feel secure. But here's that cosmic joke. Manifestation doesn't reward control. It rewards trust. So let's bring in a metaphor that hits hard. Like manifestations like baking a cake. You can mix the batter and set the oven and put the cake in, and holding the vision is knowing that it's going to be chocolate in 3 layers with buttercream and frosting. An obsession is opening the oven every 30 seconds to check if it's done. And then what happens if you do that? The cake collapses, and it's the same with your manifestation. You don't give it the time to heat, the time or the space to rise. And spiritually, this is where the teachings of non-attachment show up. And Buddhism calls it tanha, like that thirsty craving that creates the suffering. Taoism calls it wu wei, which is effortless action, moving with the flow instead of strangling it. But across traditions, the message is the same. Hold with faith and release the grip. Otherwise, you're just trying the universe's hands behind its back while screaming, work faster. Now, here's the paradox. Like, yes, you need to hold the vision. Yes, you need clarity, but you also need trust and space and surrender. Obsession is like putting your manifestation on life support. You're technically keeping it alive, but it can't breathe on its own. So, how do you know when you've crossed the line from empowered vision holder to micromanaging maniac? Well, ask yourself this. Is my energy right now calm and open and confident, or is it anxious and tight and desperate? And if you're constantly refreshing and checking and stalking, you have slid into control freak territory, and that's not holding the vision. That's strangling the life out of it. And the medicine here isn't to stop caring or to throw the vision out the window. It's to recalibrate, to recognize that the obsession isn't actually about the manifestation. It's about your nervous system seeking safety. And safety doesn't come from obsessing. Safety comes from trust. And trust is the bridge into segment 3, where I'm going to share how I had to unclench my death grip on an entire identity, corporate career, marriage, motherhood as a full-time job, to stepping into my new life of spirituality and freedom. And yeah, a whole lot less money, but a fuck ton more joy. This episode is brought to you in part by one of my most favorite humans on this spinning planet, Morgan Garza, and her book Soul Magic. If you've ever felt like your power was just waiting beneath the surface, or like there's something ancient and electric inside of you ready to be reclaimed, then this is the book that helps you remember. Soul Magic is not just a read, it is a summoning. It's filled with rituals and stories and the kind of grounded spiritual wisdom that doesn't talk at you, it talks with you. Morgan writes like a soul sister, a cosmic cheerleader, and a priestess all rolled into one. And it's a must-have for anyone on the path of awakening, reclaiming. So grab your copy at morgangarza.com or wherever books are sold, or bless someone else's journey and gift it, because real magic's meant to be shared. That's Soul Magic by Morgan Garza. You'll feel it in your bones. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. You can't manifest a damn thing if you are not willing to let go. And I don't mean letting go like, fine, I give up, universe, fuck you. I mean the deep soul level unclenching that says, I trust you, even though I have no idea how this is going to play out. It's the energetic equivalent of throwing yourself backwards into the world's sketchiest trust fall, and then believing that the cosmos is actually going to catch you. Now, this is where my story comes in, because I'm not speaking from a mountaintop of perfection here. Like, I am a recovering control freak. And not just the casual kind. No, darling. I literally made a career out of it. So for years, I was a C-suite executive assistant, translation, professional chaos wrangler, and my job was to anticipate every need and juggle every ball and put out every fire before anybody ever smelled smoke. And basically control the uncontrollable 24/7. So if the CEO sneezed, I already had a tissue in my bag. And if there was a corporate apocalypse brewing, I had the contingency plan drafted in triplicate. Being a control freak wasn't just a personality quirk, it was my paycheck. And you know what? I was fucking good at it. But here's the shadow side. When control is your currency, surrender feels like bankruptcy. The idea of letting go felt like negligence. Like my nervous system was wired to believe that if I didn't hold it all together, everything would fall apart. And that wiring didn't magically switch off when I stepped into spirituality. But life has a way of staging interventions when you refuse to pivot. And for me, that breaking point came when all the plates that I was spinning beginning, marriage, corporate job, motherhood, and the heavy lifting years, they all started wobbling. The kids were grown in adulting light, which meant that they didn't need me in the same way. My marriage had reached its natural expiration date, and my corporate career, it was soul-sucking, and I couldn't pretend otherwise anymore. The identity that I had built for decades, the one that said I am valuable because I control everything, was collapsing. And so I had a choice. I could cling harder, or I could let go. And for once, I chose surrender, and letting go wasn't glamorous. It wasn't like I was throwing some crystals on an altar and I burned some sage and then poof, instant enlightenment. No, it looked like walking away from a marriage that no longer served me and handing in my corporate badge after years of security and watching my kids launch into their own lives with both pride and an ache in my chest. It looked like facing the terrifying unknown of who the fuck am I if I am not the fixer and the planner and the manager of all things. Like, I didn't know how it was going to play out. And trust me, the control freak in me hated every fucking second of that ambiguity. But here's what happened. The more I surrendered, the freer I became. Like, I had to give up the false self, the one who found her worth in juggling every ball, to make room for the true self, the one who could breathe and create and actually live. Like, I stepped into my spirituality not as a side hustle, not as a hobby, but as my life. I started living and breathing and working in alignment with my soul instead of my resume. Now, do I make the kind of money I used to? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Let's be real. I don't have the corporate salary and the benefits package or the financial cushion I once did. But do I have joy? Do I have freedom? Do I have a life that actually fucking feels like mine? Yes. And that is worth more than any paycheck I have ever earned. So here's the spiritual truth I learned the hard way. Letting go doesn't mean loss. It just means trust. It means making space. Like, when you let go of the false self, the outdated roles, and the control mechanisms that were slowly killing you, you create the energetic spaciousness for something new to land. The universe can't deliver miracles to a clenched fist. And here's the science to back it up. Letting go shifts your nervous system. When you surrender, you drop into parasympathetic mode. That is when your body heals, by the way. That is when creativity flows. And that's when you're open enough to see opportunities that you were too tense to notice before. So surrender literally alters your biology. It softens the edges. It lowers the cortisol, and it recalibrates your brain to receive instead of repel. So spirituality in every wisdom tradition has a version of this. Jesus said, "Not my will, but thine." The Taoists spoke of Wu Wei, which is effortless action. The Buddhists call it non-attachment. Different words, same lessons. Cling, and you're going to suffer. Release, and you will flow. And my story isn't unique. It's just raw. And maybe you're there too. Like, maybe you've built an identity of being the responsible one and the fixer and the overachiever. Like, maybe you're terrified of what happens if you let go. But here's what I can promise you. Surrender's not the end of your story. It is the prologue to the chapter that you actually fucking came here to live. So yeah, manifestation requires vision, but it also requires surrender. The paradox is the point. I couldn't manifest this life, this freedom, this alignment until I unclenched my control freak fists and started to trust the cosmic current. And that, my dude, is the art of letting go. We're going to break it down, though, in the next segment. How you can both hold and release, structure and flow, intention and surrender, all at the same fucking time. So here's the paradox, the cosmic joke, and the part that makes manifestation such a pain in the ass for control freaks. You have to hold the vision and let it go at the same damn time. It's not either or, it's a both and. And walking that paradox is less like a straight highway and more like a tightrope suspended over the Grand Canyon with no safety net. But here's the kicker. That tightrope is exactly where the magic happens. So let's talk science first, because this isn't just about some Pinterest-level motivational poster about, like, balance. The quantum physics gives us the metaphor of the century, which is basically the double slit experiment. And if you don't know it, let me break it down real quick. Scientists shot particles of light, photons, through two slits in a board to see how they actually behaved. And when nobody was watching, the photons acted like waves. They were spreading out, exploring infinite possibilities. But when they observed them, the photons collapsed into particles, one fixed outcome locked into place. And that's basically manifestation in a nutshell. When you hold the vision, you're the observer. You collapse energy into form. You choose your timeline. You anchor your reality. But if you observe too much, if you choke it with obsession, you just collapse it over and over into not yet. But on the other hand, if you never observe it, if you never see the vision, then it just drifts in waveform forever. Like no collapse, no form, no manifestation. So do you see the paradox? You need both. Observation, holding, and non-observation, releasing. The universe is both particle and wave, and so are you. And let's layer in a little biology while we're here, because your nervous system is the bridge. When you hold the vision, you activate your reticular activating system, which is that little bundle of neurons in your brainstem that decide what sensory input to filter. That's why when you decide you want a red Jeep, suddenly you see red Jeeps everywhere. The RAS tunes you to notice the opportunities aligned with your vision, and that's holding side. But if you never let go, like if you're constantly scanning and checking and obsessing, you keep your nervous system in hypervigilance. So cortisol floods your system and your prefrontal cortex goes offline, and suddenly you're too stressed out to even see the opportunities that you turned into the first place. So release allows the nervous system to relax back into parasympathetic mode. And that's when your creativity and your intuition and your receptivity actually function. And it's not woo, it is biology. So spiritually, this dance has been baked into every tradition. The masculine energy provides structure, so clarity and vision and direction. And then the feminine energy provides flow, which is surrender and trust and receptivity. One without the other is lopsided. Vision without release becomes obsession. Release without vision becomes apathy. You need both braided together in rhythm. And then here's where the sass comes in. Most of us really suck at balance. I'm just going to give it to you straight. We either white knuckle the vision like it owes us some money, or we flop onto the couch with a glass of wine and declare if it's meant to be, it'll be, while we binge watch Netflix and call it surrender. So like both extremes are cop-outs. Walking the tightrope means learning to live in the tension between clarity and trust, and action and allowance. Like, think of it like dancing with the universe. You don't stomp all over your partner's feet, insisting on controlling every move. Like, that's obsession. But you also don't go limp in their arms, making them drag your ass across the floor. That is apathy. It's a dance. Like, you give, and then you receive, and then you move in rhythm together. That is the tightrope. And yeah, it feels uncomfortable as fuck at first. Your nervous system wants certainty, and it wants a map and a guarantee and a 401k plan with manifestation bullet points. But manifestation doesn't play by corporate rules. It plays by the quantum ones. And certainty is not just the currency, but trust is. So here's a reframe that helps. Think of holding and releasing like breathing. You inhale the vision, and you exhale the surrender. But if you only inhale, then you're going to suffocate. And if you only exhale, you're going to collapse. Breath is balance. Manifestation is the same damn thing. And the ancestors knew this too. Like, my grandma didn't call it quantum physics, but she lived it when she planted her garden. She'd till the soil, she'd drop the seeds, the vision, she'd water them, and then here's the kicker, she trusted. She didn't dig up the dirt every day to see if the sprouts were forming. She didn't scream at the soil to hurry up. She released, knowing that the unseen forces, the rain, the sun, the time would do their work. And that's the paradox. Intention plus surrender. Effort plus trust. And listen, If you're waiting for this to feel natural, spoiler, it's not going to, at least not at first. Walking the tightrope is uncomfortable because it requires you to live in uncertainty, but that's where your nervous system gets retrained. That's where your energy field expands, and that's where you stop strangling the miracle and you start letting it breathe. So, yeah. Manifestation is a control freak's nightmare, but it's also their liberation because once you learn to walk that quantum tightrope, holding your vision with clarity and then releasing it with trust, you stop living life like it's gonna got to be managed, and maybe you start living life like it's something to be danced with. This episode is supported in part by Sage App, aka the app that's basically a metaphysical multivitamin. It's like having a spiritual sanctuary in your pocket minus the incense smoke in your purse. It's also where I host my new moon manifestation clubs, which, if you know, you know, we go deep. So if you're ready to stop doom scrolling and start soul scrolling, download Sage in the App Store or Google Play and then step into a more intentional, magical version of your day. That's SAGED, like Sage, but with an app. Back to the episode. All right, bestie, now it's time to get practical. Like, we've been dancing in the quantum clouds, but how do you actually live in this paradox without losing your fucking mind? Like, how do you hold the vision without strangling it and then let it go without collapsing into apathy? Well, this is where ritual and practice and daily rhythm come in. Because manifestation isn't about one big spell you cast under the full moon. It is about little micro choices that train your nervous system and your energy field to live both in clarity and in surrender. But let's start with holding the vision. You need anchors that keep your desire clear without tipping you into obsession. And for some people, it's a vision board, but not the old school version with random magazine clippings and glitter glue. I'm talking about a board that sparks like a visceral reaction when you look at it. Every image should make your body light up like, yes, this is mine. This is home. So when you feel that pull, you're not just staring at pretty pictures, you're training your nervous system to resonate with the frequency of your future. And writing is another powerful way to hold the vision. Journaling and scripting trick your brain into believing the thing has already happened. When you write in detail what the morning feels like in that dream home, or how the love of your life smiles across the table, or the texture of success that you're calling in, your neurons fire like you are recalling a memory. A memory shapes identity. And suddenly you're not somebody who just wants the thing, you're somebody who remembers it, and that subtle shift makes all the difference. And yes, affirmations can help too, but let's be real, they need to be believable. Like telling yourself I'm a millionaire when you're overdrafting your checking account just makes the inner cynic roll her eyes. Instead, bridge it. Say I'm learning how to feel safe with more money, or I'm opening to a deeper love every day. That phrasing lets your nervous system relax into possibility instead of panicking. And then let's talk about the other side of the coin, which is release. This is where the control freak gets itchy, but surrender doesn't mean laziness, and it doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you care enough to stop suffocating the thing. One of my favorite ways to do this is to burn after writing. So you pour it all out, every detail of your desire, every ounce of your emotion, and then you set it on fire, like literally, and then you watch it turn to ash, and in that moment, you're telling your subconscious, I've placed my order. It's not my job to hover over the kitchen. And then breath work is another way to practice release. Long exhales signal your nervous system to shift into parasympathetic mode, which is that state of rest and creativity and receptivity. So the inhale is intention. The exhale is the trust. So try exhaling longer than you inhale when you feel yourself spiraling. It's like teaching your body how to unclench, and then nature is the OG teacher of surrender. Go outside, touch the ground, and remember that the earth is spinning and the tides are moving and the sun is rising and setting, all without your micromanagement. Like, I love to hand my intentions over to the elements, like bury a piece of paper in the soil or tossing it into the ocean, letting the wind carry it. Across cultures, our ancestors did this because they knew. You release it to the forces that are so much larger than yourself. And don't forget the little simple nervous system resets. Shake and dance and take a cold shower. Move the cortisol out of your body so you don't confuse obsession with taking aligned action. Safety equals surrender, and surrender equals openness to receive. And sometimes release feels too big alone to do. So that's when you call in your backup. Give your vision to your ancestors and your guides and to source itself. Write it down, place it on your altar, and say, this is yours now. I trust you to handle the details. Delegating isn't giving up. It is handing the cosmic, project management to the ones who actually fucking know how to rearrange time and space. And the sweet spot, of course, is when you weave the two together, holding and releasing in the same practice. Script your vision in your journal and then tear the page out and burn it. Visualize your dream life for a few minutes and then move into breathwork with a long exhale. You're telling your body and your spirit, I know what I want, and I trust the how. And that is the muscle that you're building, because this isn't one and done. This is the spiritual gym. The first time you try, it feels awkward. You're going to want to default back to control, which is checking and gripping and stressing, or swing into the other extreme of apathy, but repetition builds strength. Every time you practice both holding and releasing, you are rewiring your brain, retraining your nervous system, and reshaping your energy field. You're teaching yourself how to live in paradox without falling apart. And that's the whole point. These rituals aren't just about manifesting stuff, they're about becoming. Becoming the version of you who can hold clarity without panic and release without fear. The version of you who trusts the dance enough to actually let miracles land. And with that, you know what? We're going to zoom out. We're going to integrate the science and spirit and reframe manifestation not as a wish list, but as an initiation into trust and sovereignty and joy. Let's start here. Manifestation's not about getting. That's just the surface level version people on TikTok want to sell you. Just chant affirmations until your throat chakra's sore, and then wait for a Louis Vuitton bag to appear on your doorstep, which is cute, but no. Manifestation is about becoming, about self-regulation, about learning to live in trust instead of fear, in openness instead of clenching, and in alignment instead of control. And this stuff is just the side effect. The real win is who you become in the process. And think about it like this. Every time you hold a vision, you are claiming sovereignty. You're saying, I choose this timeline. Every time you release it, you're claiming trust. You're saying, I know I don't have to strangle this into being. It is already unfolding. So vision is the declaration. Surrender is the faith. And when you live in both, you're not just manifesting outcomes, you are manifesting yourself as a conscious co-creator of reality. And here's where the science keeps us grounded. Integration is literally nervous system training. The more you practice holding with clarity and releasing with trust, the more your body learns safety and uncertainty. And neuroplasticity ensures that repetition rewires your brain. So over time, the old pathways of scarcity and fear and micromanaging weaken. New pathways of trust and presence and receptivity strengthen. You stop being a hostage to your old control freak patterns, and you start embodying the version of you who can actually hold miracles without choking them. So spiritually, integration looks like living in the paradox without losing your mind. The mystics have always taught this. Jesus said, ask, and it is given. Vision. But he also said, don't worry about tomorrow. Surrender. The Taoists remind us of yin and yang, the dance of opposites. The Buddhists teach us that non-attachment while still holding right intention. Different paths, same truth. Life is a paradox, and peace comes not from solving it, but from living it. And here's where I want to get real with you. Integration doesn't mean that you're never going to slip back into old habits. You're still going to catch yourself obsessively refreshing your bank account or replaying your crush's last text like it's a fucking film. You'll still find moments where your control freak brain wants to grab the wheel and drive the manifestation bus straight into a ditch, and that's human. The work isn't about perfection. The work is about awareness. So when you notice, you recalibrate, you breathe, you re-anchor, you choose again, and that is integration. But let's bring in a metaphor that sticks. Manifestation's like surfing. Holding the vision is paddling out, choosing your wave, lining yourself up. Releasing is letting the ocean carry you, like surrendering to the rhythm of the water. You can't just paddle without ever riding. And you can't just flop on the board and hope a wave carries you somewhere decent. Surfing is both effort and surrender, strength and flow. And just like manifestation, you're gonna wipe out a bunch of times before you catch that sweet spot. But once you do, fuck, dude, there is nothing like it. Here's the real flex, though. Manifestation's not about forcing life to bend to your will. It's about becoming the version of you who can live in alignment with the flow of life itself. It's about surrendering the false self, like I had to do when I left that corporate hamster wheel and the marriage and the roles that no longer fit, and then stepping into the true self, the one who doesn't just survive, but thrives in trust. So yeah, manifestation is a control freak's nightmare, but it's also their liberation, because when you finally stop micromanaging the universe, you realize that the universe was never against you. It's just waiting on you to loosen your grip enough for it to slide. That's the integration. That's the work, and that is the whole point. If you loved this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing review. It helps more beautiful souls like you find this space. Because your words matter, your energy ripples, and every review is like a little spell of support for the Synaptic Soul mission. So until next time, stay curious, stay cosmic, and keep waking the F up.